Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hang with Howie. And with us tonight, we have
lots of people,
characters. So we got Brian here. We got Buddy here. We have our favorite guy from Boston here. We've got we got John. We got Jay. Bill. Bill is in cartoon character now, so I guess he's not joining us. Anyway, I was thinking about this. There has been a lot of tent weddings, and I'm thinking it's budgetary in people's backyards. I've done quite a few of them. We all know other DJs that are doing quite a few of them this year. Now, here's the challenge. You know it's going to rain. Lethal Voltage, but they insist, and there's no other choice. It's not a high-priced venue where you can go in. You're stuck. You're out there. You know it's going to rain, so you don't want to run power cords. How are you going to handle this? You've got lighting, and you've got music to provide. I know my solution because I've been caught many times, and so I do it. Anybody have thoughts on that? How would you do that?
Well, maybe I've been
maybe
I've been misinformed, perhaps.
Misinformed, okay.
Perhaps I've been misinformed.
Perhaps.
So I've got some friends who live over in Greece, and they had a really bad flood, and it flooded their entire basement. Like entire thing. Like it was 5 feet, 6 feet of water in their basement. It was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And they went down there, didn't worry about that. The power wasn't shut off yet because what they told me was rainwater isn't something that is conductive of electricity. No, that's what they told me.
Okay.
The other thing is,
I read that on the internet, I guess. So
no. Actually, Costa and Cheryl were telling me about that. But the other thing is, I do Christmas lights outside, and I don't worry about it.
Right.
Using outdoor, extension cords, and I'm not freaking out because it kind of snows here. It doesn't worry me. So I don't know. It's something I've really been too concerned about. As long as there's not exposed stuff in the water, I haven't worried about it.
Right. Go ahead, Jay.
Sorry. What's rain?
I know.
Just really, really quick, to Brian's point.
Warn you, boy.
When Mikey Mike and I had an arrangement, I traded him an SL1 Serato box, and in return, he gave me every par can that had a plug on it in his garage. So I had like 40 par cans. Well, a venue I've worked in 3 years ago, I go, hey, you want to put some lights on these bushes? They were the MBT and the Chave Rain 56, rather apropos.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been out for going on 4 years. And I know for a fact, because I saw them a month ago, they still turn on and work. They've never taken them and put them inside. So I kind of semi-agree with Brian, but I think the first issue becomes, if you know there's a big storm coming, one, I myself have it, and I think everyone else probably does. I have a clause in my contract about adverse weather conditions and safety. So that would be my first thing to refer to my contract and go, hey guys, just so we're aware, you've signed a contract that states if I'm outside in direct sunlight, if I'm outside in rain, whatever. But also, I've done tent weddings where it has rained here. And you know what? You just kind of move things and you hope for the best. I know that sounds like a terrible answer, but that's what in my experience, I did. I just moved stuff forward away from the puddles.
I was under the impression the question was basically, it wasn't if your whole equipment, gets rained on. It was
no. You're
more about the power going from whatever the source is,
right? Like
to your equipment.
I just moved stuff.
Yes.
You just move stuff. Like out
nice.
Here, you get moisture at night in the fall. So I've run cables across grass and not thought much about it till later when I unplugged them and realized they were soaking wet.
Yeah, and dew or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, I think for the most part, my feeling is between surge protectors that are in line with the main power, I'm probably okay. And Howie, you're an electrician, I'm not. But I've always kind of thought if between the plug and me, if something breaks down, the surge protector should shut all that off behind me, shouldn't it?
Yes. Do you have your own surge protector? Because most people will have you plug in. If you're in a backyard, you're going through the window, into who knows what outlet. Is that a GFCI?
Right.
That I don't know.
A ground fault
one that's like 6 inches long that actually has surge protector in it.
I mean, I have a power supply or a power strip that's a surge protector. By the way, that's surge. 6 inches. Not Howie, surge. You went like this. That's 6 inches. Let's get that straight first.
I'm sorry to hear that, Jay.
I have a GFCI handy if you guys want one for show and tell.
Yeah. So are you saying I can get a GF? No, because I don't know.
Surge. Not surge. We're not worried about surge. We're worried about ground fault. Electrical.
Can you get a GFI power?
You can buy it. It's about 6 inches long. It just goes right in line. It's got an Edison female to male. So you run your extension cord from the house because it's somebody else's house. That was one of the caveats of this challenge.
Sure.
And you don't know. So I have one. I would use it certainly. Even if it was daylight out, I would use it.
And if you could help me and the rest of the people watching who probably think like I do in some respect, a surge protector to me has always been something, if there's an issue with electricity coming in, spiking, maybe dropping too much. So if water hit an extension cord and it had an opening, wouldn't that cause a spike that would then snap the... I'm driving at it. I've always assumed that this would save me. Am I wrong on that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm glad I'm finding this out in 25 years into my career.
You need a ground fault circuit interrupter as well as a surge protector. I mean, most of your power supplies, especially the ones that Ben has, have that surge protection and so forth. But you can also get them with the built-in GFCI, ground fault circuit interrupter. If you lose your ground or there is, like you said, there's a split in a cable and there may be voltage leakage, boom, it'll shut right off and protect you and your guests.
Wow. Are they expensive?
Yeah, they're about $20, $30.
I mean, until this conversation, I'd never heard of these. So yeah, this is certainly, even if you'd said $100, it's like, because out here we're doing a lot more backyard tent weddings because of different things.
There you go.
There you go. Okay.
He's got one. There you go.
3N.
Tell us about it, John.
Yep. This was
John Cawley to the rescue.
Hardware store purchase. It was handy because I just had it out from being outdoors with a test and reset built in.
Yeah.
So if anything shorts the circuit, this will pop like a breaker, and then you don't have to worry about what kind of outlets are in the house.
And what happens when it pops? Nobody gets hurt.
It just shuts it all down.
Yeah.
Now, do you have that because of times you've had to use gear near water, let's say a chainsaw near fluids that are shooting?
Coincidentally, it was an outdoor tent wedding, and there was a chance of rain. So I threw this in the kit, and it's been sitting with my gear right on top for... Yeah. And that was the last outdoor thing I did. So I know exactly where it was. I see it every day.
Yeah, look, I got to get
5 years ago,
$20.
I did... How do I say this kindly? It was a blue collar wedding at this house that had a lot of property, and I'm running an extension cord, and this is years ago. But then they decided, hey, it would be really fun if we do some four-wheeling and some burnouts and donuts in the grass. And they were going over my extension cord, and I was glad I had that GFCI, because if they did damage it somehow, and it could happen,
Hey, Howie.
Could happen.
I got a question for the group. I know we all do outdoor weddings, especially especially you, Jay, out there in California. How often do we actually go through and inspect our extension cords and make sure that they're actually solid and that if there are any fraying, any kind of cuts, any kind of scrapes, anything in the extension cord, we're tossing them and either replacing them with other extension cords which are designed for outdoor use or for cold weather use, or black heavy duty extension cords, and not getting into that situation that we may have a problem, or are we never inspecting them? I know I look at mine quite a bit. I'm sure Howie does too, being an electrician.
Well, sure. I look at them as I coil them up. I mean,
there you go. Every time you wrap them up.
I mean,
that's new.
Yeah.
There's a tear in this one. Oh, better mark that with tape and get rid of it.
But sometimes as DJs, we're trying to do stuff so quickly to wind things up at nighttime. Sometimes we don't mark stuff down, or just put mental, marks in our brain saying, "Hey, we need to replace this."
If I ever have a cord failure, it doesn't matter whether it's a USB or whatever. I take it and I tie it in a knot, and then I throw that in my case. And then when I go through my case, when I get home, anything tied in a knot gets thrown out. It's like Brian with his DMX cables and his XLR cables from Especo, I guess they are. If they fail, he doesn't screw with them. He just buys a new one, and that's smart. That's a smart thing to do. Safety is all the way. But another thing I was getting at was, look, a lot of you guys have battery powered stuff now. If it's a chance of rain, look, they're happy that their event or wedding or whatever it is, anniversary is still going to go on. You can do a minimum amount. I've lit up an entire tent with 6 of these hex bars, and they were up on a T-bar, but they're battery operated because I put this, I did this long ago. Now the new hot thing is these Tenergy things that are 300 watt hours. This thing here, I tested it today, and I can run 6 of those par lights above ground, no wires, have this hanging off the tripod, and I went 6.5 hours.
Wow.
And for $250, it lit the whole tent up, because a tent is reflective. It's white, and they're 45 degrees. You hit this, is going to bounce this way, and then on the like Brian always says, don't shine in the eyes. It lights the dance floor. Everybody was happy. I didn't do any movers. They have 5 motors, and any mover has 5 motors. And these things just won't cut it. They won't last that long for that sort of thing. But they were very happy with just uplights and music. And the music, well, you may do what I've been doing for a long time to make it quicker and easier, is the OMARs to run my controller, and and that runs for 10, 12 hours. And same thing with the computer. It lasted at least 10 hours. That's more than enough for an event. And you don't have any, if it's going to rain, I don't want any cords on the ground. That's just my philosophy. Anybody?
I think the thing too, what comes to mind for me more, because obviously we're not getting a ton of rain out here, but what I do get is, we're going to do it in our backyard. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
Have you ever done anything in your backyard before? Oh yeah, we had a party, we did this, we did that. I'm like, the reason I'm asking is because my biggest concern is my power. Like, where am I plugging in? Do you know how many amps the circuit is?
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried doing something with that plug before? Oh, we had a band. Did they bring their own power? No. They plugged into these 2 outlets. Okay. Then the big question, and I look at the guy and say, is it a dedicated circuit? Because I'm assuming it's 15 amp, like most.
The average
is it dedicated?
Isn't going to know.
They have no idea. No, they never do. And I always say, I'm just letting you know up front, whether you hire me or not, if that night your caterer decides to plug in a coffee machine somewhere in the kitchen and I don't have sound anymore, you need to be able to react to that and know where the breakers are and which one it probably is, because I just did an event at a golf course and the caterer walks over and says, "Where are you plugged in?" And I'm like, "Inside the ballroom, but I'm outside." And they go, "Oh, we're plugging in a pizza oven. It's electric." I'm like,
no,
you got to be kidding. And she goes, "No." And I look at the caterer, the on-site, and the rep for the client. I was like, "Guys, this is more than likely going to blow a circuit with me plugged in. I've only got the speakers, the control, and the laptop, but I need to be up front with you. We need what's our backup plan? Because you have 4 plugs in the room. Does anyone know if they're on different circuits?" And just like, no one has a clue. I'm like, how has this not been discussed? Like what to do in case?
The other side of that, Jay, is let's say they did plug something in that's an inductive load, which would be a heater, a coffee pot or a pizza oven. That's an inductive load. That'll give you hum. And you don't want that either. It makes you look like crap.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like an excuse, but I oftentimes tell clients up front, let's go over the pitfalls. Pitfalls, power. Pitfalls, wireless microphones. Wireless microphones? Yes. There's no guarantee with the wireless mic. If you want a wired mic, I'll guarantee it. If you want a wireless mic and somebody has some weird device between me and the mic, or for some reason something gets in the way, or we have a drone and the drone's running a live feed cam, I mean, these are things to consider. Oh, wow, thanks for letting us know. Hence why you're proactive. But that's always my big thing. I have 3 home weddings coming up, and every one of them starts with the same discussion. Have you done anything like this before? Do you know how the power is?
The reason I brought this up is because we're in unique times right now with supply chain issues, and these things are $250. That means you can run your uplighting. Like Bill, you have the Chauvet FX Wash Hex.
Yep.
This will run 2 of them, which would be plenty enough to light up a tent.
Oh, yeah.
Off of one of these, and you would get 6.5 hours out of it.
Yep.
And you wouldn't have to worry about anybody getting shocked. There'd be no extension cords laying in the wet grass, should it rain.
Which is why there's a few of those on my Amazon wish list right now.
Oh, I thought you already had the hexes.
No, the batteries, the Tenergy batteries.
Yeah.
But to another, way I've always kind of worked around it, to what Jay was just saying first. It is a common thing for them to say, "Oh yeah, we have an outdoor plug," and then like you said, you ask the magic question: was it a dedicated circuit? And if they don't know, you kind of say, "Well, at some point between now and the event, I would like to maybe go out and get with you, and we can see what other things might be on the same circuit or not." Because oftentimes it's if it's a well-to-do families, they have a pool in their backyard. And even though the pool filter might be on its own circuit, the pool lights are on the circuit that you're on. And there you are, 9 o'clock at night, you're getting into the dance groove and somebody turns on the pool lights and bam.
Well, and side note, because of this, I guess Jim at CSL has something that another one of the DJs on YouTube bought, where if you plug it into a circuit, any outlet, it will tell you dedicated or shared.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think it's simply a red or green light.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
So that might be the way to go if you're doing a lot of these where there's a concern.
I would highly recommend that. Jim is the most cleverest guy I know. He is a genius.
Yeah.
So in my defense, how he laughed at me
What?
Everything I'm seeing here says that rainwater is an incredibly poor conductive thing for electricity.
But
there's things
you always are told outside when
I'm not an electrician.
Lightning, you got to be careful. Like lightning kills people all the time out in the rain.
Yeah, but it's the electricity that hits you. It's not the water hitting an extension cord that kills you. That's different.
I had someone the other day say that a car is not grounded, but if you're if you get struck by lightning in a car, that it goes to the ground, which is the tires, which are rubber,
right?
The ground, so you shouldn't get hurt. But
it's not the water that kills you; it's the lightning. It's the 1.21 gigawatts that kills you.
Right.
You may not get a shock. If, like Jay said, you're lifted out of a puddle and pull it apart, you might spark, but more than likely what's going to happen if water gets in there, it's going to shut it's going to shut your
not a good idea.
I'm recommending it.
But I'm not looking at it like I'm going to get electrocuted while I'm playing the Cupid Shuffle because there's an extension cord out here.
Exactly.
Because it's raining
at a gig like, what's up? It's hailing and raining.
Get killed.
So
you're less likely to get.
I got bigger problems.
You're likely to have your equipment shut down or cause damage. Or
without the ground. Yeah, sure.
Like back in the day, you get the 2 extension cords and it's going to be out and exposed, and you took a plastic bag and just taped it around it. Like, we're going to make sure we get through this. Tape it up nice and good.
Cover a moving head with a bag. Cover speakers. I've seen that 100 times at festivals.
And I used to
have trash bags. We're good.
I used to freak out loading in when I was driving a pickup truck. Driving my Suburban is different because when I'm driving my Suburban, my equipment's in there and I got the heater on in the wintertime and it's heating my equipment and myself as I'm driving slowly to the event. But when I had a pickup truck and I'd leave the stuff in overnight, let's say I had a Friday gig and then a Saturday gig. I go to the Saturday gig, and if it's like 0 outside, I know Jay's like, what's 0? But it's a thing. Stuff gets cold when you bring it into a room where people are talking and there's condensation in the air. Just from that, your stuff immediately gets wet.
Yeah.
And that would freak me out. And I'd sit around and try to wait for the stuff to dry before I plugged it in, just because I was trying to be smart about it.
Yeah.
I've had hot gigs during the day where I've literally had the gig put it in the Jeep, but not put the cover on the case and wait a little while, because my fear is I'm dropping the temperature so much from the 98 degrees sun that I had to stand in to this that I'm going to cause condensation.
That's true.
So I'm like, you know what? I need to let this get to something like a little lower temp before I try to cover it and leave it for a week. But yeah, I mean, that was the big, I think you and I talked about this a decade plus ago.
Probably, yeah.
About the famous, it was really tough tonight, October outside weddings out here. And you say, what's the big deal? Well, it's 93 degrees during the day and 61 at night. Well, that drastic drop, all of a sudden, CDJs, you get a little bit of mist on that.
Right.
And it's like, like, and I would tell clients, I'm cool with being outside, but you need to understand, like, I may get to a point where the heat is such. So what I found was a tiny fan. I would blow it across the players and the mixer just to keep the ambient temperature consistent and not allow
the air moving probably more than anything else.
Right. And at least that way, I'm not getting mist on the lasers.
Mm-hmm.
The struggle it used to be, kids, it wasn't as simple as rip your music off from an illegal site and throw it on a controller. There was a lot of work involved.
I think the key is always just kind of, I don't know, for me anyway, just don't be stupid. Otherwise we'd all have to be qualified electricians to go out and do an event.
Exactly. And, this stuff is cheap. Like, the GFCI that John showed. Come on. Who can't afford $30 if you're going to run a long extension cord outside,
I don't think it's afforded. I think it's look to the future and say, what could possibly happen?
Yeah. That's true, too. I mean, be prepared. I mean, be a Boy Scout,
Well, it's cheap insurance. It's very cheap insurance. If you're looking at saving your life, saving someone at the party's life, or saving wear and tear on your equipment, and making sure if something does happen, your equipment's protected too. Because if something happens and the surge protector doesn't work, that ground fault is going to come along and hit, and it's going to also help protect your equipment. So that, again, it's double insurance. It's a few bucks, $30 on Amazon, $26 I think on Amazon. It's worth every penny.
Yeah. Now, Brian, how much roughly does a Maui 5 go for the battery powered?
I just ordered a pair for my guy at Tour Source.
Mm-hmm.
And with bags and everything, it was just a little over $2,000.
Okay.
I say now, like $900,
okay,
aren't they?
Now I have
plus bags.
I have
packs and stuff.
I have 12-inch and what are they, 10-inch now as well, tops?
You have 8-inch.
8-inch tops? Okay.
That's why they weigh 20 pounds.
Okay, so you're talking $2,000. I'm talking $250.
You love that? I want to see the link on the screen at the end of this show for that thing. Howie.
Brought to you in part by
Mention promo code Hanging with Howie.
Hanging with Howie.
Don't electrocute grandma.
Honestly, think about it though. Should I spend
Sparks fly
and then store 2 more speakers just so that I could be battery powered? Or do I go with one that can go either battery powered or mains power for what? $1,750 less.
That's an argument for another show.
Well then. Let that be the end.
No, it's a great idea. It's a great idea.
No, I mean, let's say there was, I mean, we pretty much, are helping beginners here.
Sure.
Let's say they don't have a lot of storage, I mean, or a lot of money, and they have to buy, I got to buy powered speakers and I have to buy powered. I'm like, well, you don't have to buy battery powered. You can buy one of these little deals.
Sure.
It doesn't even have to be, but,
those are the kind of solutions I was really looking for before these other solutions popped up.
Yeah. And that's what I was looking for 10 years ago when I invented the Howie box. And that was like the grail.
It's really cool.
I mean, I went and did that picnic because of a coffee maker, Jay.
Yeah.
It was a coffee maker. 2 years in a row, the committee changes.
Yeah, it's always the coffee maker.
A big sign up on there. Do not into this outlet, DJ power only. And they took the thing off and plugged a coffee pot in all over there. The next year, I invented the Howie box and I never looked back. And then I didn't have that 75-foot, extension cord running either anymore.
Now,
a whole lot more convenient than lugging a generator around with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mobile Beat 2000 July. You can read about the Howie box. It's on page 75.
Good solution, and it works. The reason I pursued the route I pursued with the Maui 5 system was because I just needed to do it in as few steps as possible, being a one-arm cripple.
Yeah.
But if I had 2 hands and I didn't mind, plugging a lot of things in, then that wouldn't be so bad.
Well, what spurred me to invent that was when you were at that golf course on the 9th or 18th hole, whatever it was.
Yeah.
You had to run 300 foot of extension cord.
Yeah.
Drag your rock and roller cart with all. I was like, oh no, I got it. I got to do something here.
The situation at that one, I remember this. Oh yeah, there's power down there.
Yeah.
And I go down there and there's this conduit sticking out of the ground with this like household outlet just hanging out of it. And all the wires are just not even on it. I'm like, you don't have power down here.
I can guarantee you one thing. If you do tent weddings and you're at somebody's house and they do have one of those outlets outside that's supposed to be a GFCI, the covers are probably broken off or they're left open from the Christmas lights. There's a 50-50 chance that it is not going to work.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
Yeah. More like 90-10.
You're going to go through the window with an extension cord and who knows what you're
the kitchen window over the sink to the outlet.
Well, hey, this has been a good show. We are going to do another show. Actually, Brian's going to host the next show right after.
Oh, I can. Sure.
And thank you all for participating. And as always, folks, leave your comments when this goes up after Easter on YouTube.
Happy 10th day of Christmas.
Yep. And if you have anything you want us to cover, we'll be happy to do that. And thank you all, and have a good night.